Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1226, written by qssung, the 4 a.m. disappearance. I was walking to a train station in The Hague at 4 a.m. in order to get to the airport for a flight. I was already on guard when I noticed a man across the street walking in my direction. He crossed the road and turned to walk beside me. Normally this would set off all my alarm bells, but for whatever reason he didn't. He asked in English if I was American, which I am, and I said that I was Italian. We then carried on a conversation in Italian until we got to the train station. I said something to the effect of thank you, and I hope you have a safe trip, and I go inside. I turned around to ask him a question and realized he hadn't entered the station with me. I walked around outside and he'd vanished. This particular train station had no buildings near it, and there was nowhere for this individual to go without me seeing him, especially in the very short time we were apart. I walked around for a bit to see if I could see him, but there was no trace of him. I'm not particularly religious, but a holdover from my childhood was saying a prayer for a safe journey before a long car trip. I was just nervous enough that morning to say one, and not 2 minutes later, the man appeared. Case notes file 1226, the 4 a.m. disappearance. You may have witnessed the guardian angel assigned to your case. I like to think that these guardian angels are employees of the VR game company that we're playing the simulation in. They exist to keep us company when we need it, ease our minds when required, or prevent untimely deaths and transitions to new universes via quantum immortality. Maybe if server capacity is overexceeded, or for some other reason I can't even fathom that's beyond our comprehension. It's a pretty interesting idea, and certainly in this case, guardian angels can be assigned not just to prevent death, but more, much more, and in ways that we probably don't even realize. You only really notice it in the most extreme events where death is prevented. I do wonder though, did they have to possess an actual human being? Or was it manifested or just like interfaced in your mind to make you seem like you saw something that wasn't really there? Push enough buttons up there and you can see anything. Case notes of file 1227, written by C Music, the college party beyond this world. When I, male, was a senior in college, I was at a small party off campus with mostly very close friends. Probably 25 to 30 people total at the party. There was a beer pong game going on which I wasn't playing in, but was among others surrounding the table watching and socializing, etc. I was engaged in a conversation with one of my friends, and here's where things got super weird. Everyone was drinking out of one of those red plastic cups that are typically used for beer pong, and there was a keg. I didn't have my drink in hand at the time I was talking, but I turned to glance at my cup to pick it up off the table in front of me. And I noticed that another friend of mine had his hand over my cup, and it looked like he had something grasped in his fingers, or may have just something in his hand. He quickly pulled his hand away from my cup, obviously seeing that I spotted him, and he made a joking comment, "Oh, haha, I was just dropping a little something in your drink." As I perceived it, it did look like he was dropping or had already dropped something in it. Before I was able to question him, a female friend from across the table, who I think would have been too far away amongst the overall people talking in the room to be able to hear what my friend had said to me, got my attention and was seemingly trying to say something to me while laughing, almost a fake laugh, but I really couldn't understand anything she was saying. So before I am able to even question what she had said, or address what happened with my drink with my other friend, one of my other friends who was playing beer pong, and was notoriously a loud person, randomly started shouting the Beastie Boys lyrics. I did it like this, I did it like that, I did it with a little wiffle ball bat so. By the time he got to, I did it like that, everybody in the whole room joined in with his shouting the lyrics while I basically looked around making eye contact with most of them, as if they were all looking at me while singing it, and thinking, what the hell is going on? It was like everyone in the room was purposely trying to pull my attention away from the situation. I got super paranoid and almost afraid because it was almost like a Truman Show moment where everyone was in on something except me. I had my drink in my hand at that point, but I didn't want to drink it. Shortly after, the friend who had previously had his hand over my drink, the friend who started the Beastie Boys lyrics, and the other person at different times over a few minutes questioned why I wasn't drinking my beer. I got so freaked out that I ended up going to the bathroom and dumping my drink out, then left the party shortly after while my mind was completely trying to comprehend what happened. My group of friends in college would have never done anything malicious with messing with a friend or something like that, but the fact that everyone seemed to be involved in this weird circumstance was so bizarre. I will never be able to explain it, nor was able to question anyone about it after it happened. 21 years later, and I am still freaked out about it. Case notes file 1227. The college party beyond this world. It seems like a really bad prank, more than a deliberate attempt to do something nefarious to you. The other possibility is that this group of friends and acquaintances was seen through a parallel world, where that group over there is nothing like the one in your original universe. I think this can go a long way to explain certain oddities in people's and groups of behavior, where they're just different. If you've known them for a long time and they change, but then they revert back, that would be my guess, that this group, even if you never really interacted with them in the same way in a party, they would seem normal after this, because you were just seeing into a different universe. Creepy file number 106, written by Desert Child. The F-150 Family Curse. My truck was completely locked up. I couldn't turn the steering wheel, press on the brake or accelerator, change gears, roll down the windows, change the locks, pull the emergency brake, or change the radio station. Nothing. I was trapped in a vehicle that could only be stopped by crashing. And crash it did. I was stuck going 55 miles per hour and my steering wheel was at a 35-degree angle through the whole ordeal. I ended up jumping a curb with so much speed that it flew into a wall. The truck actually came off the ground. Once the truck crashed, I was able to unlock the door and witnesses were able to help me out. Nobody believed my explanation. People thought maybe I was suicidal, had a medical emergency, or was intoxicated because I made no visible attempt to stop the truck from crashing. But I passed the field sobriety test and a quick medical assessment by the EMTs. Police officers thought maybe I was distracted by my phone, but it was in my gym bag behind my seat. To this day, nobody believes me that my truck spontaneously locked up, especially since it hasn't happened again in the last 3 years. I've been thinking about this incident all night since it happened. I'm a night owl, and I realized this wasn't the first Ford vehicle that my family owned that had a similar problem. My dad had a 2000 Ford F-150, and the steering column would constantly lock up with the key stuck in the ignition once the truck was turned off. We had to do this weird routine of jiggling the gear shift, tapping the pedals, or some crap like that to unlock it. My mom had a 2004 Ford Expedition, which was built on an F-150 platform, and had the same exact problem. So what do all three Ford vehicles have in common? F-150. Case notes for the creepy file number 106. The F-150 Family Curse. A family curse over F-150s, locking them up on its drivers in an attempt to end their lives, or just inconvenience them? Or is it just a very strange, coincidental anomaly that keeps on repeating? It probably is just a coincidence in this case, but knowing very little about cars, I can't give too much insight here. I do know that I rarely ever hear about cars entirely locking out like this, so saying it's unusual sounds right. And if it's a curse or some influence by some entity that is haunting your family, I could see that. And now time for the movie of the day, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So there's a lot that could be said about this trilogy, especially in these modern times where the whole idea of the modern cinema or movie or show is all about nuance. And nuance can be good, but sometimes you need a classic to bring you back to reality, to ground you. Good and evil, light and darkness, right and wrong. The forces to defend what is righteous, and the forces to try and crush it, to bring out a cloud of darkness. You have this idea in some people's minds that the world is a shade of gray, and in most cases it is, and yet the shades are pretty mute. I think it's pretty easy to determine, in most cases, what is right and wrong. And classics like this bring you back to ground you in that firm reality. The emotional scenes in this movie are unrivaled. It's truly a masterpiece. And there's a quote that I always remember. It's a dangerous business, Frodo, going out your front door. The world is a big place out there, full of unknowns and dangers and enemies. It's a dangerous world, and if you go out and try to conquer it or try to deal with it, you may get scrapes and bruises and you may die. You may suffer. But if you don't live, if you don't go out your front door, if you stay inside forever, well then you've never lived at all. So enjoy this masterpiece if you haven't already seen it. I mean, you're in for the treat of your life. It's a one-in-a-generation trilogy. I don't know if anything could be made as good as this right now. There's so much passion in it. We are blessed to have it in our lives. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.